Chapter 7. The blue supernova time seemed to warp in the confines of the camper van. The moment Leo screamed, "St. Mungo's Hospital," into the emerald flames, a frantic, desperate countdown began. He knew, with the chilling certainty of a man who had absorbed just enough potion theory through osmosis, that he had mere minutes, perhaps seconds, before the abandoned cauldrons reached critical mass. The complex harmony of heating, stirring, and infusion had been broken, and the potent magical energies, left unchecked, were rapidly turning into an unstable, volatile soup. He grabbed Alistair by the shoulders, his wiry frame straining to lift the professor's dead weight. Alistair was terrifyingly still, his face a waxy, pale mask. "Come on, Professor. Don't you die on me now," Leo grunted, dragging him towards the shimmering green portal of the Flava network. Every inch was a struggle. The air in the lab was growing hotter, thick and oppressive. A high-pitched whine began to emanate from the largest cauldron, a sound that vibrated through the metal floor and up Leo's spine. He gave one final desperate heave, tumbling with Alistair into the swirling vortex of the fire. The familiar, disorienting sensation of flu travel took over, a chaotic rush of roaring flames and fleeting glimpses of other fireplaces. For a split second, Leo was suspended between worlds, the unconscious body of his partner, a heavy weight in his arms, the imminent explosion a thunderclap waiting to happen behind him. He was spat out onto the cold, tiled floor of the receiving atrium at St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries. The sudden transition from the pandemonium of the lab to the sterile, organized chaos of the hospital was jarring. Healers in lime green robes rushed past, shouting medical incantations. The air smelled of antiseptic potions and faint, lingering traces of dark curses. "Help!" Leo screamed, his voice raw with panic. "Someone help him, he's collapsed." A pair of healers immediately rushed over, levitating Alistair onto a floating stretcher with practiced efficiency. "What happened?" One of them, a stern-faced witch with her hair in a tight bun, demanded. Leo's mind raced. He couldn't tell the truth. "I don't know," he stammered, falling back on the one skill he had truly mastered, lying. We were foraging for herbs, in the forest. He just fell. He's been ill for a while." The healer gave him a suspicious look but was more focused on her patient. She waved her wand over Alistair's chest, her brow furrowing as the diagnostic spell glowed a menacing dark purple. "This is no simple collapse. It's a magical pathogen. Advanced stage. Get him to the 4th floor, creature-induced injuries, right now." As they whisked Alistair away down a long corridor, Leo was left alone in the atrium, his clothes singed, his face covered in soot, and his heart pounding with a cocktail of fear and relief. He had done it. He had gotten Alistair to safety. But as this thought crossed his mind, a low, rumbling tremor shook the entire hospital. It was a distant, deep-seated vibration, as if a giant had just stumbled somewhere far away. Leo knew exactly what it was: the cauldrons. Back in the Black Forest, their fortune, their future, and all the evidence of their crimes had just vaporized in a spectacular magical detonation. The explosion was not a conventional one. It did not create a fireball of orange and red. When the volatile potions finally breached their containers, they erupted in a silent, brilliant flash of pure, unadulterated blue light. A massive, shimmering dome of magical energy expanded outwards from the camper van, instantly incinerating it and everything within a 50-meter radius. The ancient trees of the Black Forest were turned to fine white ash. The ground was fused into a smooth, glassy blue crystal. The dome pulsed once, twice, and then shot a colossal beam of blue energy straight up into the sky, a beacon visible for hundreds of miles. The magical shockwave was detected instantaneously by every magical monitoring station in Europe. At the German Ministry of Magic, alarms shrieked, and officials scrambled, thinking it was a large-scale terrorist attack. At the British Ministry, Gideon Rookwood's magical map, which had been tracking the faint signature of Leo Gable, suddenly lit up like a firework. A massive, pulsating blue star had appeared in the middle of Germany, right where Leo's trail had gone cold. "What in Merlin's name was that?" one of Gideon's junior aurors exclaimed. Gideon stared at the map, his face grim. The scale of the energy release was unprecedented. It was more powerful than any potion-related accident he had ever seen. This was not a lab mishap. This was a catastrophe. "That," he said, his voice low and serious, "is our brewery. Or what's left of it. They've blown themselves to Kingdom Come." But the signal on the map was not the only alert. In a lavish, heavily warded penthouse in Paris, a series of enchanted silver bells began to chime, their sound growing more insistent. This was the alert system of the Chemist, an early warning network that triggered whenever a major, unsanctioned magical event occurred. The Chemist, a meticulously dressed man with cold, calculating eyes, looked at his own magical map and saw the same impossible bloom of blue energy. A potential supplier, or a potential rival, had just made a very loud, very public mistake. This was an opportunity.
and in a grimy fortified hideout in the British countryside, Corvus Lestrange felt the magical tremor through the soles of his feet. His own network of informants and magically attuned psychics began screaming in his head, all reporting the same thing, a colossal explosion of blue energy, the very color of the product he was supposed to be controlling. His suppliers, the professor and the punk, had either betrayed him or had been impossibly stupid. Either way, they had just revealed the existence of their operation to the entire world, and Corvus Lestrange did not tolerate loose ends. Leo, standing alone and trembling in the lobby of St. Mungo's, knew none of this. He only knew that he had saved his partner and lost their dream. What he did not realize was that by saving Alistair's life, he had inadvertently lit a beacon, sending a brilliant blue signal to every major player in their dangerous game. The hunt was no longer a quiet, covert affair. The Aurors, the international brokers, and the vengeful gangsters were all now converging on the source of the light, and the only link to that source was him. The healers on the 4th floor worked frantically to stabilize Alistair. The diagnosis was grim. The Crake's shadow, a notoriously aggressive magical parasite, had attached itself to his magical core, feeding on it, growing stronger as its host grew weaker. The collapse was not just from exhaustion, it was a full system crisis. The parasite, in its final stages, was now attacking his vital organs. It's one of the worst cases I've ever seen. The head healer, a wise-looking old wizard named Augustus Pye, confided to his team. The fact that he has survived this long is a miracle in itself. It speaks to a formidable magical constitution. They managed to contain the immediate crisis, using a combination of stabilizing potions and powerful containment charms to halt the parasite's advance. But they could not remove it. The Crake's shadow was too deeply entwined with Alistair's own magic. To remove it would be to extinguish his life force entirely. All we can do is manage the symptoms, Healer Pye concluded, his voice heavy. We can make him comfortable, but he has days, perhaps a week at most. Inform his next of kin. Down in the waiting area, Leo paced like a caged animal. He had given the healers Alistair's name, but claimed he knew nothing of his family. He was terrified that if they contacted Eleonora, she would in turn contact Gideon, and the Auror would put 2 and 2 together and find him here. Every time a new person came through the main entrance, Leo flinched, expecting to see a red-robed Auror coming for him. He was running on pure adrenaline. He had no money, no wand, having lost his in the frantic escape, and no plan. Their entire operation, their vast stock of ingredients, their state-of-the-art mobile lab had been reduced to a glassy blue crater in a German forest. All they had to show for their months of work and unimaginable risk was a dying man in a hospital bed and a target on Leo's back. After what felt like an eternity, a young healer approached him. "You're the one who brought in Alistair Finch." Leo nodded, his throat dry. "Is he? He is stable, for now," the healer said gently, "but his condition is terminal. We are doing everything we can. He is asking for you." Leo was led to a quiet, private room. Alistair lay in the bed, looking smaller and more fragile than ever. He was conscious, but barely. His breath was shallow, and his eyes, when they focused on Leo, were clouded with pain and a profound, weary sadness. "You saved me," Alistair whispered, his voice a faint, papery rustle. "You should have saved the batch." "Don't talk like that, Professor," Leo said, a lump forming in his throat. "We can start again. We know the formula. We can—" "There is no we anymore, Mr. Gable," Alistair interrupted, a single tear tracing a path down his hollowed cheek. "It is over for me, but not for you. You must disappear. Take what is left. Live." "There's nothing left," Leo cried, the desperation finally breaking through. "It's all gone. The lab, the ingredients, everything. It blew up." Alistair seemed to shrink further into the pillows. The last of his hope, the final desperate gambit had failed. He had not saved his family. He had only succeeded in destroying himself. Just then, a commotion was heard from the hallway. A loud, booming voice that Leo recognized with a jolt of pure terror. "Gideon Rookwood. I am here to see my brother-in-law, Alistair Finch." Gideon's voice bellowed. "I am his emergency contact." Leo's blood ran cold. The hospital had found Alistair's next of kin, and his next of kin was the very man who was hunting him. He was trapped. There was no way out of the room without running directly into the senior Auror. "The window, Mr. Gable," Alistair whispered urgently, a flicker of the old calculating professor returning to his eyes. "Go, now." Leo scrambled to the window. They were on the 4th floor. It was a sheer drop to the magical atrium below. He was wandless, helpless, but as he looked down, he saw his only chance. A series of floating planters, containing various magical herbs, were drifting lazily past the window. It was a desperate, insane idea, but it was the only one he had. With Gideon's footsteps growing louder in the hall, Leo threw the window open, hauled himself onto the ledge, and leaped into the void, aiming for a large leafy fern. He was no longer a partner in a criminal enterprise. He was a fugitive, alone and on the run, with the full weight of the magical world about to come crashing down on him.